straining for that logo on the side of your helmet and not the name on your back.
Yes, sir.
Because we know what it represents. It represents everybody here you see and everybody you can't that we've talked about. I'm here to strain with you, man. I swear to God, I'm here to strain with you. Let's go. Everything you got, strain with everything you got. Let's go. Bills on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bills.
You're listening to the Off Tackle with John Fina show with your host, Joe Miller. What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Off Tackle with John Fina show. He's cracking IPAs. Dude, is it even 5 o'clock there yet?
It doesn't matter, does it?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. You totally just planned that whole thing on me. My name is Joe. That over there is the man of the hour. That's John, my guy, John Fina, who's wearing an awesome hat with his last name. You know, I could do that too. I just got to go get a Miller Brewing Company hat. It's not that cool. I know you think you're cool right now, but it's not that cool. I can do it too.
I got a beer drop on my keyboard. Hold on, let me get it off.
Oh, too much. Welcome to everybody that is in the chat in the comments section. Welcome to you if you are listening to this podcast on Victory Tuesday or Victory Wednesday. It's good to have you. You are tuned into, as I said, the Off Tackle with John Fina show on the Buffalo Rumblings vidcast and podcast network, brought to you by Q42. Q42 is an awesome barbecue sauce, and John is going to tell you a little bit about Q42. Right.
Hey, first of all, Q42 goes with your favorite IPA or your Chardonnay or whatever you want to drink.
What about a margarita?
Margaritas.
También, yes.
Por supuesto. Hey, what makes Q42 barbecue sauce different than the rest? And this is where it's really important. It's made in Western New York.
Yes. With
Western New York honey, and real ingredients. Even the ketchup and mustard is made from scratch. Like, who does that? That's awesome. Where the other guys had fillers like high fructose corn syrup,
no bueno.
Q42 puts in the time, the effort to cook up a sauce worthy of most serious tailgates. Beginners, you can go use some other barbecue sauce. The KC sauce is a crowd pleaser. The Carolina is a mustard lovers match. There you go, mustard lovers match. Go to Q42BBQ.com to get yours. Enter the code Fina Show to save 15%. I don't know if it has to be all capitals, Fina Show. Throw it up in there.
Go to Q42BBQ.com and scream Fina Show in the promo code area. Oh, so good to see you, John. Yeah, this football game. Let's just get right into it as you're sipping that IPA with a nice little bit of foam on top, like perfectly poured IPA. I'm going to let you go first. In regards to what you were expecting from that football game against the Dolphins to what we got, and don't give me we won, because I know we were texting, and I know there was more to the story than, we won.
Well, if you recall, go back
we actually more than texted. We talked at halftime. Like, you actually called me.
I had to vent. That was a venting moment. All right. So if you recall our last pod, I said, look out. The Dolphins they're invigorated a little bit, after that previous week's performance, losing at the buzzer. I think they had some pride that's been damaged. They felt some success, and they were going to try to come up to Buffalo and make a game of it. So my expectation was going to be a hard-fought game, and it was. And my expectation was the Buffalo Bills would win, and they did. So take that, Joe Miller.
That's right. Yeah, but
that was the length of my expectations.
Yeah.
What do you got?
But so your expectations were wholly met, is what you would say.
Yeah, because I know there are struggles during the game. They're going to come in some way, shape, or form. So
I guess I had compounded expectations. I had expectations that the Bills were going to beat the Dolphins. Obviously, I was a little more reserved this week than I was last week against the Titans, because as I surprised you, as you said last week when I said that I expected the Bills to roll into Tennessee, roll the Titans, roll out, and they didn't. But I expected them to be far more focused. I expected them to have a little bit of that, whipped cat, whipped dog kind of mentality. Like, we're going to go in and we're going to focus, and we're going to take all of our angst out on this Miami Dolphins team that isn't very good. And they just seem to come out sluggish, and they seem to come out very flat, especially on offense. The defense played lights out. The defense, if the defense didn't play the way the defense played in the first quarter and the second quarter of this football game, we're probably not having a fun conversation this evening on this show, on the Off Tackle with John Fina show, brought to you by Q42. Possibly. I'm just saying,
well, we're only one throw away from the first quarter looking a hell of a lot better than it did. So
for sure, yeah, the first play of the game, which if he had tucked and run, he's got Stephon Diggs out there as a blocker, right? And he's got a million yards of green grass.
Like the idea of just putting it up there, nice and soft.
He tried.
Mostly because I don't want my quarterback out in space, which we do enough already. But secondly, I got Diggs in my fantasy.
Right. Well, the reality is if there's a guy, as much as I say this, I mean, Allen puts his body in harm's way a lot. And we're off topic now, but that's fine. I'm okay with him. I prefer some of those ad lib runs versus the scripted runs that seem to get him twisted and tied up in the middle of the stack, in the middle of the pile. But anyways, I digress. For me, the game met expectations in as much as we won. The game met my expectations in as much as the national media doesn't pay attention to crap, basically. So like, they're coming out going, oh, the Bills are the Super Bowl favorites after beating the Dolphins, like, handily. And it's like, well, it wasn't really handily. So clearly none of you watched the football game, which we've laughed about in the past and doesn't surprise me. But I just expected more in the first half. Not to say that I didn't see some good things that I wanted to see, adjustments, right? We'll talk about that when we get to the good stuff. They beat the spread, so they won by more than 14 points. Josh Allen tied the NFL record with Cam Newton for the most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in his first 50 games. So there was a lot of good there. I think I was just looking for more of a complete win by this football team, and there was just some puzzling things that just left me wanting. Fair?
Okay, but your expectations were that you were mostly optimistic the Bills would win, but you expected a hard-fought game. So we're both right.
I don't know that I expected a hard-fought game.
Oh, okay. Well,
I can tell you this: I expected to see AJ Epinesa all over the field. Do you remember seeing 57 on the field at all?
Yeah, a couple of plays. I caught him on camera. But sometimes it's just who's grooving, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Mario Addison was grooving.
Mario Addison played well. Edmonds,
Jerry Hughes was grooving.
Jerry Hughes played well.
Obviously, Oliver got a game ball, and that is never, for the lack of what Harrison Phillips and Star Latula they do for him to help him get to that point. So.
That another expectation I didn't have, seeing Vernon Butler start and play a lot in the first half.
Yeah, well, that's another show, man.
The run defense totally changed when Harrison Phillips entered the game in the second half. It's like, what is going? You knew this going in. Do they sit around as a coaching staff and they're like, let's see, why don't we give Vernon a chance and see what he's got? Maybe he's fixed some stuff. Nope, hasn't.
Maybe they flip a coin. That to me is less puzzling than Spencer Brown being down. And I didn't know. Was there an injury? Was there something nagging, or did they just sit him? That I haven't heard because I don't devour the mafia media like the rest of us do. But I was thinking, all right, well, what happens? You don't put Spencer Brown up because you're working these people in a guard, but if a tackle goes down, you're back to Ford or Bates. So I was kind of scratching my head at that one.
That's actually a good segue. Harold Fuller asks, he sent in just a chat. But by the way, I didn't say that we are Super Chat Live. So if you absolutely desperately have a comment or a question, and a couple people did reach out to me and say they've got some questions for you. So we'll see if they show up tonight.
Well, Harold's here. Hi, Harold.
Yeah, Harold is here. John, how hard is it for 3 of the 5 offensive linemen to move around from where they played the week before? And this is a big question because it was brought up on one Bills Live today by Brownie and Tasker that, there was an aspect to it that they weren't even sure when they knew. So it could have been Thursday, could have been Friday, could have been Saturday before they knew that Spencer wasn't going to play in this football game. And then like Sunday, it's like, hey, guess what, guys? Daryl, you're going to right tackle, right? Feliciano, you're going to right guard, and Ike, you're getting the start. How hard is it?
It's player specific, right? So the beauty of a guy like Glenn Parker, He played four positions on the offensive line seamlessly. So there's an IQ level to it, a football IQ level of knowing the entire play. So when we took tests with Carl Mock the night before the game or the day before the game, you didn't just block your position against the defense in front of you. You were required to block every position, the tight end block, and the running back's responsibility. So if you have guys up front that at least know the concepts of every play and understand the assignment of every play against whatever defense is thrown at them, then it's just the ability to move from side to side, right? So Feliciano very clearly plays better on the right. Booker looks natural on the left. If they had to shift it up, then Feliciano's probably a better left guard than Cody Ford is. So
right.
You're not going to see the tackles swing. Mostly it's the interior three. And it's working in that tight space too, that, there's a familiarity of it too, where you're not stretched. Like tackles are taking bigger steps, dealing with outside rushers in the inside three. The octagon is tiny, It's you and me, we're eyeball to eyeball, and we're not separated by 2 or 3 yards with a guy, running downhill at you. So the skill set is more suited to swap around, but it is a function of football IQ and your ability to go left, right.
So I think I was typing because somebody noticed that there's a typo in our ad as far as on the screen that I got to fix. But did you say you were unsure of why Spencer Brown was scratched? He's hurt. So he hurt him. Yeah, he hurt his back lifting, I think, on Monday earlier in the week. So more than likely deadlifting would be my guess.
I am so against exercise. Is it receive? I before E except after C.
You caught it. So to which I responded to.
I just emailed you back when you sent the link. And then did you see my email back to you?
No.
SP exclamation point, because you spelled link LIMK.
Okay.
I always catch spelling errors.
I didn't spell it wrong. I fat fingered it. I don't have skinny long digits like you. That's actually not true. I've got actually pretty big hands, but I fat fingered it. So unfortunately, but it is what I hunt and peck. Do you type properly or do you hunt and peck?
No, I'm really good text.
So you're not a hunt and pecker like me? I'm a hunt and pecker. That's why I'm.
No, Miss Gallardo in 7th grade, man. She taught me how to type. I'm really good at it.
I'm not saying I didn't learn how to type, but who's got time for that? I ain't got time to type. Like I can hunt and peck without looking at my fingers, and then I
can type faster normally than hunting and pecking. Now, this is true digression. Before you were just addressing. That wasn't digression. This is full-blown buffoonery. I promised buffoonery on the tweet, and there it was.
We're not done yet. We got a whole 45 minutes of this left.
Oh God! So next time up for bids.
Ask you question in caveman speak. What were your thoughts when you saw that Butker was starting over Cody Ford? Surprised? Not surprised?
Not surprised.
Not at all.
No. I told you last week, I think Cody Ford, come hell or high water, is going to have a really hard time getting back into this lineup. And you're going to have to see Butker fail miserably before Cody Ford goes back in.
But oh no, Ford finished this game, so I'm getting 2 games confused. But he
finished this game because Feliciano, he's Italian now, by the way,
got hurt.
He might have strained his calf and running out of space on that illegal block.
It was funny because leading into the game, I had thoughts about that. I was like, man, what if, right? What if Butker starts over Ford? What does that say about Cody Ford? And then it happened. I didn't tweet about it. I didn't talk about it. I don't think really. And then it happened.
I'm willing to take you at your word, Joe, because I like you.
I don't know what you're talking about, but thanks. I appreciate it.
Well, that you didn't say it out loud, and you're like, oh man, I could have invented the internet, but I didn't.
No. But it just it doesn't bode well, right, for that young man and probably his future with the franchise. Although the Bills hang on to guys way longer than they should.
Well, are you woeful about it? I mean, people are calling for Vernon Butler's cab right now. He's got an Uber outside, like 7,700 Buffalo Mafia fans have all chipped in 10 cents.
Well, as I said last night on the Overreaction Pod, the next time I want to see Vernon Butler is him walking on one Bills drive with his bags. But to me, it's about the draft capital. It's about the investment. There's an investment in Cody Ford in the 2nd round pick, blah, blah, blah. Vernon Butler, they just picked up as a free agent.
I know, but I mean, look, the hallways are lined with the high quality college players who had great careers in college that didn't pan out in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And, in the end, the draft is really like close your eyes, roll the dice.
Right,
I don't care how good they are in college. Sometimes guys just don't make it. I mean, I wasn't very highly considered in college up until the last minute. And I had a reasonably long career.
You were a first-round draft pick.
I know, but if you go back, not that I'm encouraging you to do this, Mel Kiper had me listed as the 42nd.
Hang on. I'm gonna hunt and peck to Google and type up.
No, let's not go backwards. Let's just talk about where we are today. So, I was not shocked at all. So,
gotcha.
I hope Spencer Brown's back gets gooder though. That's
Me too.
Issue.
Me too. So let's move on to the good. What the good from this football game. So I'll go first on some of my good. Good for me. Halftime adjustments. I called them out on my bi-week post or my bi-week podcast for the Overreaction Show, just about the Buffalo Bills need to understand when they're getting punched in the face, right? And it's like, oh, we're getting punched in the face right now. We need to make some adjustments. And what's funny is, and obviously you have a different seat and a different view of the 90s teams, but the 90s teams got accused a lot of times of not making a lot of like wholesale adjustments, like just kind of being like, no, we came in here with a plan. We're going to stick to the plan. And a lot of times it seems like this Bills team does that as well. And they didn't in this football game. They came out and they started throwing to the flat. They started throwing a lot of screens, several back-to-back screens, which is something we have not seen. This is not a screen team. They did some of it in preseason. However, who knows? Maybe they were practicing for this game. But I loved when the Cole Beasley thing happened. And that just took me right back to the conversation that you and I had last year when you said that, working Cole Beasley like that is, it's a substitute for the run game. And what's interesting about that is the Bills don't do it enough. Even still, it's the obvious thing. It's the sending your kid to the kitchen to grab the knife off the counter and they can't see it. Where's the knife? I don't see the knife. And you're like, the knife is right on the counter. I don't see the knife. And they come back and then you want to punch him in the face. Working Cole Beasley underneath and getting that rhythm for this offense has worked so many times.
No, I agree. I like the adjustments that they made. I think a lot of them were compelled by the defensive plan from Miami. We could talk about that a little bit later, but I agree. The adjustments were nice. What else was good? I mean, do you want to go into the defense? I don't feel like there's a lot for us to talk about.
No, defense, Oliver, Edmonds,
they played aggressive.
Milano, all the safeties. Levi Wallace got stung a couple times, but he battled back. I mean, all of them played great.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think Levi had 1.5 bad plays. Tre'Davious White tried to jump that route with a poor angle, got beat. Edmonds didn't make a tackle.
What did you see? What did you see with the Devontae Parker stuff? Because Devontae Parker in the first half was owning that football team, and in the second half he was gone.
It's curious. He just in the first half he was just finding that soft spot in our zone. I mean, when you want to rush with 4, which we capably do, then what's the point of running press coverage up front with 2 high safeties? Why not just sit back in full zone coverage, right? So then you run the risk of a guy who's settling in and finding the spot in the zone, adjusting his routes and getting in between the depth and the inferior linebacker position. And they just did a good job of it. And that again goes back to your adjustments, right? I think they probably closed down a little bit more with the safeties. Look, there was so much to digest. And then when you went crazy on your pod last night, I didn't even have time to watch the defense because, number one, they played well, and like nitpicking on finding when, a fantastic receiver has a few catches is not worth my time. But the fight that we're going to have in about 11 minutes is going to be so much more fun for me.
Listen, there's a premise. So I was a little bit curmudgeon-y last night, and I put that in my tweet. But here's the thing: my show is not about reality. My show is not about.
Oh, I figured that out when I went and watched the film again.
Listen to me. My show is about the overreaction and how we felt on the couch when the game was playing out. Mister, I called Joe Miller at halftime to vent. Like, you were right there with me.
That's just because I wasn't getting my beer and my wings on time, dude. That is huge for me.
It was all piling together. But my point is,
this dad bod, if I don't get my beer and wings, I'm getting pissed.
There is fine print on the Overreaction podcast, which is I'm giving you the emotion that I felt today, which is why I did not want to let people walk away with the Josh Allen touchdown run. We win. It's over. Yeah. Like, because at halftime, we were all there's what is going on? There's a person.
I'm listening to this, Birdie. Are you listening to this?
There's a person where he's at named Birdie. Just so everybody.
Okay,
listen, what's going on.
I totally get it. So I should stop listening to your show because I don't deal in raw emotions.
Yes, you do.
Only when it comes to my beer and wings. All right, good. I agree with you. The adjustments that were made. They compelled us to make those adjustments. So the pressure that they brought, which is a good plan by them, right? They know that we struggle in the run game. So they bring 5, 6, or 7 on multiple plays to stuff the run. So what's the solution? Well, let's start with a little confidence and hit the flats, right?
Yeah.
When we start looking like we're just hitting a screen and we're hitting a flat, then what happens? The middle of the field opens up. Now that's Beasley's territory. So we just want to dial in on our protections, right? So anybody who looks at that film and doesn't say, well, let's see, 5 guys can't block 6, then I'll give you another math lesson, all right? 5 guys can't block 7 either. And when they bring down the threats, I don't care who bails out, you have to make a call. And then you might have 4 guys blocking 6, and that's a challenge. So once we figured out how we were going to make those calls, and then the middle of the field opened up for Cole Beasley.
Yeah. Do you have any goods different than my goods? Anything?
Yeah, I thought our punting was outstanding.
Ladies and gentlemen,
wrong section.
This is the end of our show. Thank you for tuning in to the Off Tackle with John Fina show.
All right, that's all I'm going to say because that's very obvious. Honestly, I thought the officiating was not horrible, which is a first. So that I know that's totally off topic.
It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great.
That's right. I thought Josh did a nice job spreading the ball around. Our tackles played great. They really did. And I'm going to drop a bomb on you right now. Feliciano played terrific. And I'm going to just fly that right by for you.
Whoa. You're going to have to break that down because that is
it's coming on the video.
That is not going to sit well with Twitter because Twitter is all over Feliciano today.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this right now, my friend. If he's well enough to play next week, he's not getting moved out of that lineup. Nobody is. The poorest performance in that game by any one offensive lineman might have been Boetker, and I don't even know who would tie for second. So anybody who's not in that offensive line room who just likes to just emotionally lash out at the offensive line for some reason, whatever, because it's like this nebulous, ambiguous, amorphous thing that you can just lash out at because nobody can really dissect it. Well, sorry, I did.
I don't think that's it. I think that's the difference in perspective between a guy that has played professional football and the fan. Because as much as you know the science and you understand the science and the nuances of what's going on, what we see is a run play called, right? So we understand as fans that a run play is called, which means there's an assignment somewhere and a gap that the running back is supposed to hit. And when the running back runs straight into the back of the guard, straight into the back of the center, or straight into the arms of a defensive tackle, that tells us somebody didn't do something right. We're not good enough up front. So it's not about a nebulous thing. It's more of just back to expectations, what we expect to see when a run play is called. We watched Thurman Thomas, Travis Henry, Willis McGahee, Shady McCoy. We watched all of these great running backs for years run through seams and run through creases and find holes and get through offensive lines that may have been on par with this one, if not maybe a little worse at times, right? I mean, I think I
found 1.5 blocks that I thought Feliciano did not do well on, but his pass protection was smoke.
Well, Feliciano, clearly, that's one understanding about him is he's a way better, him, Morse as well, way better pass.
You're going to have to produce the plays, and I got 3 or 4 of them up queued up that we're going to talk about.
I'm agreeing with you. That Feliciano is a good pass protecting guard for sure.
But I'm talking about run blocking in this instance, but I'll promise you, we had a conversation a couple hours ago where I said, wait, so how many plays does a guy get to have that aren't great? We agreed that it was 1, maybe 1.5, maybe 2.
Yep.
I'm telling you, I watched the film last night. I watched every running play probably 6 times. You're not going to see a change in the lineup. And right now in the offensive line meeting room, when they're watching the film, they're all going, "That's a good job, guys."
So just to set the record straight, Twitter was aflame about John Feliciano. I was not. I said the line has got issues, and my bigger problem is the scheme along with the play calling. I feel like the run game is being forced.
Now you're on it. So we can dive into that.
But
I told you we were going to fight tonight, Joe.
You're projecting. You're projecting the Bills Mafia overreaction onto Joe, who hosts the overreaction show, which if you listen to my show more than twice, you'd know that my show isn't really an overreaction show. I'm kind of level-headed and just bring the point.
Yeah, I have quartet practice on Sunday nights. All right, so the good. So I talked about the good. I thought the receiving core was really nice.
How do I get a sub? And I don't mean a sandwich. Can I get a sub? Like sub?
Well, I'm about done. I mean, all the defense was good, minus a couple plays each by everybody. We need to be better at kickoff return. That's the bad. I guess I'm just transitioning to needs work. So
yeah.
So punting needs work. Maybe there's like a counseling session or a YouTube video. It's not going great, and it's consistently like this. It hasn't been like, oh, he's great. Oh, he had a bad game. It's just
Yeah.
And then kickoff return, and obviously Mackenzie needs to field a couple more punts in practice. What else needs work? When we talk about needs work, we'll talk about run philosophy. You go. What needs work?
So I'm not much different than you. I mean, I've got the offensive line, but it's more of a high level kind of a thing because to me it's about the run scheme, which you and I have been beating up the run scheme for this team for 2 years, John. This is not a new conversation for us. Even it's not a new conversation this year.
You want me to add a wrinkle?
Yeah.
It's not the run scheme; it's personnel.
Okay, that's great. I'd love to hear that because that means that we're because there was a point last year. It might have been. I don't know why you're whispering. It's creepy.
For dramatic effect, dude. It's for dramatic effect.
I don't remember if it was after quarter 3 or quarter 4. I put you on the spot and I said, "What is the problem? Is the problem the play caller? Is the problem the offensive line? Is it the scheme or is it the running backs?" And you paused and kind of hemmed and hawed, and I think you came down to it being a little bit of the scheme, or more of the scheme than anything else. So if we're finally drilling down and discovering what the problem is, then let the floodgates open, right? Because I want to hear this.
I had an epiphany.
Oh my gosh!
Epiphany. Come on, dude. That wasn't too bad.
That was. I get a cute. My girls make fun of me for dad jokes all the time. That was awful.
Birdie, was that horrible?
Birdie, can you do me a favor? Can you take every IPA in your fridge and dump it out before John has a chance?
They don't ever have IPAs. I have to bring my own. I brought my own cooler all the way from Tucson.
Please take that cooler away from John Fina right now.
This is the best show that never got aired. Wait, are we in the air?
Yes.
I swore. This is a family show. Okay, so real quick. Right, so I hemmed and hawed, right? And I couldn't put my finger on it, and then I had an epiphany.
Wait. I didn't finish my last needs work.
Oh, my God, I'm holding my breath.
Coming back to your epiphany, I have a serious problem with something that needs work, which is I was talking to my dad about this tonight. My dad and my stepmom came over for dinner. It's my stepmom's birthday, so we celebrated her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yes. And I said to Dad, the problem that I have with this football team right now, and I said it on my show last week, is there's a lack of realization or it's seeming lack of just understanding. They know they're good, but I don't think yet get that they're going to get the best game out of every single opponent that comes to face them, because every player or every team that they play, the Jaguars this weekend, you name the Jets, the Patriots, not playing the Dolphins, and the Patriots, or the Dolphins were too. They want to wake up Monday morning and watch Good Morning Football and hear about how they took it to the Buffalo Bills. And it seems like the Bills are having a little bit of difficulty realizing we're the hunted. Everybody wants to beat us. Everybody. Like last year, the Bills were really good, kind of a surprise. People weren't sure what to expect. Robert Saleh from the 49ers thought that Josh Allen was a wildcat quarterback and a lot like Cam Newton. And then he learned something in that football game. That's not who Josh Allen is. This year, everybody knows who Josh Allen is, and everybody's trying to beat this football team. And I feel like they're just not the 90s Bills team. This is what I said to my dad. You guys knew we're good. We're going to show you we're good. This team is more like we're good.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, I don't disagree with that entirely. And that's a mentality thing. And I think you got the right staff for that. I mean, there's no way Frazier and McDermott are going to stop hardening their hearts.
Right.
And I mean, maybe you should, at the risk of offending people, put a bunch of targets in the locker room, just go in there and paint fresh targets and like, this is you, right? Yeah. Everybody's gunning for you.
Yeah.
Fact. That's just what it is. Yeah. And they, I think that you have to have that mentality and, kind of a Johnny come lately last year, potentially, maybe they haven't reached that point yet, but that's the growth pattern of every championship team, right? Until you hit that stride. Could be. Yep. I'm going to give you props on that one.
Harold Fuller says, and I love this, doesn't every NFL player want to wake up the next morning and hear they took it to whoever they played every week? No. You've talked about it. There's been times that you were in a locker room with the Bills being like, the only way we're getting out of this game is if the bus crashes on the way to the stadium. Like there's times.
I think what he was saying is, isn't that the goal? Like, doesn't everybody show up for that? And what?
I'm not sure they do.
No, well, that's my point is like, you got to get to the point where you're on the edge of the knife.
That's good.
Is that it? I can just shut the show down now. Edge of the knife.
Edge of the knife killed it.
All right, you ready for my
Epiphina.
All right, I'm putting on the white hat because it's my wizard hat.
Oh my gosh! So now you're Fina the white?
No, Fina the IPA. All right.
It almost has IPA in it. If that was FIPA, you could pull that off.
All right, so I'm going to diagnose the run game for you, and then we'll look at the film. Our running backs are not good blockers in the running game, and neither are our tight ends. And every time we go to a more open set and run a draw style offensive run plan, we do far better. So if you go, when we look at these plays, every single one of these plays, well, 3 out of the 4 plays that we have queued up are the fault of either Zach Moss, Sanders, Sweeney. The offensive line actually does a fair job, but what happens is if you have to maintain blocks. And if you cannot maintain for a certain length of time, running backs make decisions based on who gets beat. And then you just kind of run into the teeth of really blocked guys. There weren't unblocked guys except for one play from the offensive line perspective.
Right.
Zach Moss missed a block. Sweeney got destroyed on 2 or 3. I couldn't find the third one. I didn't, it was too many IPAs in. Maybe when I started watching the film.
One of those of which Stephon Diggs was chirping at him coming back to the huddle, chirping at him.
Yeah. Sanders missed a block. And those things matter. And if you look like even on we ran a true option. God, that was hilarious. I watched that like 4 times. Like, what happened here? It's a bad pitch. Josh optioned the guy he was supposed to option. He made the cut that he was supposed to make. He should have flicked that ball out, and it would have been downhill. I don't know that they'd have gained more than 6 or 7, but it wouldn't have gone out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
So bring him up. You ready? Is it time?
Well, the question I have is this: before you started that whole segment with. There's some run plays that they run when they should be doing other ones because they're better at it. I just wrote literally in this moment, why the hell are they running those plays? If they know they can't,
well,
and this
I can tell you that with the defense that Miami was running, the pressure defense that they were running was 6, 7, 8 guys, 7 at the line of scrimmage. It's really rough on the skill position people to sort all that out.
Right.
Offensive linemen are typically okay sorting that stuff out at the line, but when you have that condensed kind of running attack,
Sure.
and you have a bunch of guys up in your face, the first guys that fail are tight ends and running backs.
So this is the reason that I asked that question, because I was in a war by myself, and there's a couple people here that'll listen to this show and remember 2019. 2019, the Buffalo Bills were growing up, right? It wasn't 18. Josh Allen was kind of intermediate in his skill set. He wasn't a good quarterback yet, but he wasn't bad. He was learning how to play the game. The roster was being turned over, and the Bills were losing games they should have won. The Browns game, and I'm going back to 2019. And there was a lot of content creators who were out here basically going, they just didn't execute. They just didn't execute. And I'm like, what does that even mean? They didn't execute? Because to me, there's a philosophical and a fundamental difference between, we have the horses to do this play. We have the guys that can do it. We can execute it. We can do it right. However,
I think execution in this instance, it's like a cheap way of saying win your block.
Well, hang on. Let me finish, because you're where I'm going. There's a difference between having the guys and somebody made a mistake. I can be okay with that. If somebody missed a block, made a wrong read, made a wrong step, whatever. Like, no, normally I get this, but I made a mistake. It goes back to what we said. He made one bad play. Is that okay? Is that forgivable? Yes, absolutely. Versus they didn't execute, because these guys can't do that. And in 19, we had a lot of plays being called for a football team that couldn't do what they were asking them to do, yet they were calling these plays all the time. And it's like, why are you calling plays that this team can't do? Well, they just
so I don't think it's a function that they can't do these plays. I just think that it's the wrong plan against their defensive plan. So, Gilliam, I think, should have taken the outside guy, and Zach Moss leads up. Gilliam goes into the line. Zach overruns the run support, and the play is dead.
Right.
Sweeney falls down on a block. He doesn't sustain another block. Sanders gets beat inside. And by the way, our running backs need to stop dancing and understanding when you've got, 7 guys stacked up, not just in the box, but on the line. Mm-hmm. The first seam you see is the only seam, and you need to put your head down and get 3. 2 and 3 is fine with me.
Nobody does that better than Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley sees that he's bracketed and darts forward.
So that was brilliant. I was thinking about that on that first China route that my man Baldinger, I haven't heard that expression in a long time, that in and out kind of thing. Catches the ball and he turns back in. And a lot of guys would sort of lose yardage and try to run around that. He's like, forget it. I need a first down. I'm going right there. But he consistently does that. He takes exactly what he can get.
Yep.
And he like, load up. Let's go again.
Yep.
All right. What do you want to do?
So we're going to pull up the first run play?
Get me all hot and bothered.
So this is at what? It was 8:06 in the game. Is that right? 8:06 in the first quarter, I believe.
Yeah. Is Boker pulling?
Well, right now they're not doing anything, but yes. So yes.
Okay. So this is a mistake. Here's your mistake. Go back to the snap. All right. So our boy Feliciano and Williams should be double teaming the 3 technique to the middle linebacker. All right. And what happens is they both pass up the defensive lineman. I think Boker is coming for this defensive end, or he's wrapping for the first linebacker.
Right.
But because both the tackle and the guard leave this guy, Boker's like, it's like his 21st birthday. He walks in the door, surprise, wham, and he's down.
Yeah,
right?
He's knocked over. Yep.
So these two should be deucing, and then Boker should be wrapping up to 52, because you can see where, man, I'm losing names. 19. He's on 45.
McKenzie.
Right. So there's your offensive line error, flat out. But Boker was like, that is not his fault. The right tackle and right guard both abandoned. You see Feliciano on the backside linebacker on Van Ginkel. By the way, any athletic league is always better when you have somebody named Van Ginkel in it.
Last year you had a teammate named Van Noy. There was Van Ginkel and Van Noy.
Right? And then you can see right here where Williams does a poor job on 52, mostly because it really ought to be Feliciano
Well, Feliciano's got his block tied up. He's at the second level.
He's not supposed to be there, though. That's my point.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that one was completely blown up. Didn't have a chance in the world.
No chance, because it was incorrect blocking.
Next one, it was the second quarter, 5 minutes, right? 5:48.
5:27. It might have run. So watch Sanders. All right, he gets destroyed inside, right?
Yep.
Now, the responsibility for Moss here, go back. It's actually not it's a pretty well blocked play up front by the front five. Right there, stop. You got a soft spot right there. But the problem is Zach Moss has to make a decision based on Sanders' block, right? So two frames back, Zach should have bounced this outside. Look at the room outside right there. But he's not. He's looking down at Dawkins, which is not a bad place to look, but he didn't see the line. And that's a tough block for Sanders, right? That's a linebacker.
Right.
So I mean, I don't fault him, but I'm not going to sit here and blame the offensive line. Look, they're off the ball. Everybody's driven the Miami defensive front at least 1 yard downfield. You can only do that for so long. Dion gets a little bit stood up, but the breakdown is out at Sanders, whom I love. I'm not calling him out. If Moss has got his eyes up and understands who the weakest blocker is on this play per the assignment, he's going to read that block, not Dawkins' block.
Right.
And look, this is actually one where I think Sweeney does well. Sorry.
Hang on a second.
I know he's a great guy.
You're fine. I need to I'm not sure if I don't have the second one to this, so I'm gonna see if I've got it here. 2 seconds. So it's 4:53. Is this the next one?
This is the QB run. Zach Moss. Okay, stop. So
I'm gonna back it up just a hair.
Right
there.
Yeah. So Gilliam is leading, right? And he's leading up inside. My opinion is the first guy takes the outside guy, and then Zach Moss takes the inside guy. But again, everybody, if you look across the line of scrimmage right here, all you can see are ear holes, and that's good.
Yep.
Right? So frame it up. Bam, there's the guy. And you see Zach Moss look back. Now, leave it right there. Or come back.
Come back, yep.
Come back a couple frames. A little bit more. Okay, right there.
Oh,
right there.
Too far.
Okay. Too far.
Too far?
Go forward. There, stop. Holy cow. That edge is sealed, man. If they blocked us wrong, right, or right, wrong, that edge is sealed. You got your wide receiver about ready to break down and stalk block that cornerback. But look at the jerseys. Now Gilliam's in bad position unless he's leading on the inside backer, and then in this instance it's Moss's fault. But frankly, again, where's my offensive line? 1 yard downfield, we're looking at ear holes.
Right.
We're not looking at jersey numbers.
And Zach, I don't know what Zach is doing. Like it's funny because I need to get context. So I mean,
we don't. We'll never have it. We don't know what the response is. So stop it there.
So like the guy runs right by him. Like what? And this happens consistently with this Bills team, where like, and maybe it happens with other teams, and I just watch the Bills too much.
Can you give me 2 frames?
Where do you want to be?
Go 2 frames forward. Stop. Okay. So they ran a little game here. The defensive end goes out. The linebacker comes in. Dawkins takes the inside guy as he should. Gilliam doesn't read it, doesn't see it, unless he's tracking for the inside linebacker, in which case, but look at Moss's eyes. He's looking up inside. So he's thinking, I'm leading up on the inside, and Gilliam is kicking out. This is an assignment error problem. So they're just not reading the defense and making the appropriate assignment call. It's assignment error on the running backs.
It just seems somebody asked the question. It was why just asked, and you probably can't see it. Could poor O-line coaching be part of the problem? I don't necessarily need you to answer that question. It just seems like when you watch what Zach Moss does, we see this Bills offense do this a lot, where dude is running, looking for somebody to block, and the guy that he's supposed to block is like running right by him. And it's like, there you go. And Moss does that right here.
So from this. And by the way, was it Julia? No. I mean, the one play was on the offensive line. The last 2, including this one, 2, are solely based on assignment errors by running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. So if you look at this, Dawkins should be on the guy standing up on the end of the line of scrimmage. That's the E-mole, end man on line.
Right.
All right. But what happens is the orange gloves actually, I think, comes downhill.
Nickname Orange Gloves. It's perfect.
Right. So what happens is on the snap of the ball, if I'm the tackle, I know that I'm basically running a combination block with Gilliam.
Right.
So unless I'm supposed to take the end, and this could be a Dawkins error, but the way I look at it, the way he reacted, I just see this as Dawkins on orange gloves. So if they run a game here and he picks up orange gloves, then Gilliam has to change. Now, it's hard to know. I mean, scheme-wise, I don't see it. Execution-wise, I do. So if I'm scheming this, Dawkins is on the stand-up defensive end, not on orange gloves.
But who's the guy that runs by all of them and then runs by Zach Moss? Let's see.
That's the guy standing up at the line.
And nope.
Right there.
No, it's not. It's not orange gloves.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it's the guy standing at the end of the line.
Okay, gotcha. So you're saying the end is in.
Okay,
end is in the four. Is the end in the 4-point stance, or is that a defensive tackle?
Hold on. The guy in the 4-point stance is on Boker, is in a 3 technique.
Yeah, you've got 2 guys that beat 3 Bills blockers here.
No, incorrect. You have 1 guy that beat 2 running backs. So I know exactly what happened. If orange gloves is on the 35-yard line, Dawkins blocks the guy in a 2-point stance. Okay? If you can give me like 2 frames forward and pause it before the snap, orange gloves is in the feet. See where he is? We say in the feet. His feet are level with the guy in the 4-point stance. That means that Dawkins has to take him because he's a risk of penetration and blowing up the play. Now, Gilliam needs to see that. And then so when Gilliam sees Dawkins go for orange gloves, he has to redirect and go to the end. Now, look, nice defense by Miami. Right play call for the right play, right? They confused Gilliam and they confused Zach Moss. In reality, you've got 3 to block 2, and you've only got 1 guy blocking 1 and the other 2 missing 1 guy. So this is a running back error.
No, that's without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I see that it's a running back error on both of them. It's just hard to believe that Gilliam just decides to fly into the offensive line, right? So he just buries himself in the butt of somebody else. and then Zach Moss finds himself, who still has probably the ability to save the play, right? And seal that edge. And instead that the guy that's standing up, whoop, there he is. And Zach Moss is like, oh, there you are. You ran right by me.
I'm emotional right now. I'm like Joe Miller last night. But listen, I'm not laying blame here. So the issue is you don't see this in practice, right? So they line up in that look like a wink or an under, right? So they line up in an under, and you're used to seeing orange gloves back at the 35-yard line. So that's the way you block it. So unless the defensive scout team has a wrinkle where you're doing an exchange of responsibilities like this, then this is really, really hard to execute. It's hard for those 2 guys in the backfield. They just don't think like this.
So what happens in situations, and I'm going to use the example of the Shanahans. So Kyle Shanahan and his dad. These guys can scheme running backs and run plays like crazy, like nobody's business. Why do wrinkles like this never affect them? The Browns are another great example right now in the NFL that are just a phenomenal running football team. Stefanski can scheme running like the running game. And I don't want to be a great running team. I want to be a precision passing game because of the quarterback we have. It just seems like other teams are able to equip themselves to be prepared for something like this.
I'm sure they won't make this mistake again, but honestly, I mean, what we're running is lead week. Okay. We're actually running quarterback lead week. Right?
Here
so
it is.
Look at orange gloves. You can see his hat right there.
Yeah, here it is from the other.
Does what he's supposed to do. Gilliam needs to see orange gloves and go right to 45. That's where this play breaks down. So stop it back. So this is an under front, right? So if you don't run a lot of lead against an under, then it's hard for guys to dissect this.
So is this a play the Bills should be running or should not be running?
Oh God, I'd run this 100 times till Christmas. All right. So look, you've got the.
It's just hard to fathom that you can see three guys. You can see
This
Butker,
is a really
Butker. You got Dawkins on the outside. You got Butker on the inside charging. You got Gilliam behind him. You've got freaking Zach Moss, and you've got Josh Mother Truckin' Allen behind him. And you're thinking to yourself, I got Josh Allen behind three lead blockers. There's no way this play fails.
Well, it only failed because they just don't have the exposure. Like, how many reps does Gilliam get? Like, when they rep this play in 9-on-7, they probably get 4 reps tops during practice week, maybe 6. I don't know how McDermott runs his practices, but this is a great play. This is actually, let me tell you something right now.
We're not even go ahead.
If Gilliam recognizes that Dion has to take the first threat, which he does, you see orange gloves, 21.
Yep.
And if you see, if Gilliam takes 45, then Moss is going up and he's chipping the hip of 21, and then Josh Allen is right in Sanders' underwear running downfield.
I was just going to say, you can see that from this shot right here, you can see that there is a serious decision issue based on what has occurred. Josh Allen is supposed to go outside, but he sees 45 come around the end, and he has to go inside. And if you look at the top of the screen, those two Miami Dolphins players literally in the next couple frames, too far, swallow him up.
Yeah, but if you went back to the other frame, so this is actually really good. So when you want to see numbers, look right there. Man, Morse, Feliciano, that backside is sealed, right? So Boker is in here with Gilliam, 2-on-3 right there. When Gilliam it should be 2-on-2, and Gilliam should be on that edge support guy. This is not a failure of the offensive line. And the reason I chose these plays is it looked like crap. And the easy thing to do is say the offensive line is terrible. But
TRBL.
And I watched it.
TRBL, terrible.
All right. People are like, Jesus, Fina, we're not watching. We're listening in our cars. Go back and watch the video.
Last one. As he's swigging his beer. Last one. So this is second quarter, right? 2:55 left in the quarter.
This is a quarterback run, right?
Nope, it's Moss.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is the Sweeney play. I had my all messed up. Watch Sweeney at the top. Just get drove, right?
Get eaten alive.
Yeah. No, this was not a great play by Feliciano nor Williams. But if you look at this separately and just not in the context of look at Sweeney.
Yeah.
He should, that is not the proper position for a hook block. He'd already got driven too far back. Gilliam has nowhere to go. Feliciano is actually not in terrible position. He's a little bit sunk back, but what kills this play is Tommy Sweeney. And I'm sure he's awesome. I hear he's a great guy. I love it. And this is no indictment on him, but we always talk about where do we need to get better? Gilliam, Sweeney, Zach, Singletary, and the run game need to get better. Here's the rub. You ready for this? Man, our running backs can really block in pass pro.
Yeah, they can.
We had like 1.5 bad blocks in pass pro by our running backs, but by and large, dude, they're like they went and watched some Thurman Thomas film. Thurman would just blow guys up on a blitzing linebacker. So I hope
back in the day.
You go back and look. We had 5 substandard running plays.
Yeah.
And I just showed you 4 of them were based on running back and tight end play. So going back to my epiphany, if you look into the third and fourth quarter at our run game specifically, the only time we ran towards Sweeney, this was a really cool play. He released actually out to run support. So we ran strong, but by and large from a 5-man front, from a 5-man offensive line. All of our successful running plays in the second half were from spread. Gotcha. Now, The Dolphins did some pretty cool stuff defensively until it bit him in the butt when Josh was reading all the pressure and guys got open. He had a field day on him, and all it takes is 2 plays, right, to win the football game. And he hit the guys and he got them.
Yep.
But they had a really nice plan for trying to get up into the line, try to confuse guys. The issue is they confused our running backs and tight ends.
Gotcha. Solid stuff, man. That's freaking solid information, which is incredible. We've got a couple minutes left. So where do we go from here, John? We got the Jaguars, or we're headed to Jacksonville, which to face the Jaguars, which is one of the poorest football teams in the NFL, with apparently right now not great head coaching or great coaching, not with a great coaching staff either. So what's next for this football team? What are they working on this week?
Well, if you go, I gave you a bunch of plays to watch. You're welcome.
You did. I watched them.
Go back and watch all the screen plays that we ran, and the screen that you're gonna really enjoy was we ran a screen to the right. I have it on my card here somewhere, but the truth was it was actually a bilateral screen. So Josh chose to throw it to the right. It was a third quarter with 26 seconds left. Last play of the third quarter.
Yep.
Josh throws the screen right, but if you go back, slow it down, he chose.
Gotcha.
He could have thrown the screen to the left. The left guard and left tackle were releasing left. The center was releasing right. It looked very similar. They were both soft coverage. He could have gone either way with it, but that's really cool.
It's funny because Harold Fuller says so many screen passes. To me, the screen pass, a properly executed screenplay in the NFL is like ballet. It's like the opera. It's just
huge.
The way everybody's working together, like just to see. It's not a wide receiver that beat a corner or like and the quarterback moved the safety with his eyes. It's just, for me, the screenplay is everybody doing something all with the same purpose and the same goal in sync together, and it's just a thing of beauty.
Well, look, fight me, Joe Miller. If you don't have 4 guys that can get after our offensive line and beat us, then what do? You let Josh Allen just sit back and destroy you? No, right? So you do what the Dolphins did, and you had some success with it in the first half by bringing 6-7 guys up, not just in the box, but on the line of scrimmage. Yep. What beats that? The screen game, the flat game, the quick curl. Everything that we did in the second half, adjustment-wise, when we figured out what their plan was, worked beautifully. Right. Minus a few running play assignment errors by running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers, our running game was solid. We had 2 bad running plays by the guys up front. Hey, fight me.
instead of fighting you, Daniel Gower says, "Nice job, John."
Thanks, Daniel.
Joel Joe says, "Suit up, John. We need you."
That'd be a diminishing return.
Don Keith says, "Excellent show." Stickman says, "Great breakdowns." Fina the Wise.
Oh, Fina the full of
it. Sharon says, "John Fina dropping a bomb and setting the record straight." Boom.
Hey, Sharon, thanks, man. I was tracking your comments last night, and you seem very even-handed. I appreciate that.
Tom Whitmarsh says, "So glad I got to watch tonight instead of just listen the next day." So yeah, there's a lot of people loving this stuff. So my guy Tom York, great friend of mine, Joe Miller, great job. Maybe you could replace Chris Brown. I don't want that. I think the Bills like Brownie. I don't think Brownie's going anywhere. So
if we don't have another one coming up, there's really cool. There was actually a couple of true RPOs that we ran, and we talked about this, the difference between zone read and RPO. I gave you an assignment, Joe, with it was 7 plays.
I watched them all. Hang on, before you do that, my mom also says, this is my mother. Great job, guys. So
and hi to Mimi Fina. Mimi Fina's out there. She's a college student, so she can't go super chat. So hi, Mimi's.
That's awesome. I watched all the videos you told me to watch. It seemed before you tell me I'm wrong, my first and you probably know what I'm going to say. My first reaction to all the plays you sent me was, yeah, of course the runs were starting to work. The Bills were beating them up with the pass. The Bills were setting the run up with the pass.
Right, but you have to understand they finally figured out that the way they had to attack the Miami defensive plan, but they had to find out what that plan was first.
Yeah.
So when Miami had success stacking up the line of scrimmage, we thought, well, now we have to spread them out. Right. Now, look, I know McDermott wants to run, and you don't you want to be a precision passing team, but there will always be balance, and you have to figure out what their plan is defensively before you make your adjustments. Otherwise, they're not adjustments. Then it's just the plan. Does that make sense?
Mimi Fina is out there. Where's she at? Mimi Fina right there. This is my first time tuning in live.
Oh, hi, Mimi Fina. Look at that great picture. Isn't she gorgeous?
She is gorgeous. That's absolutely, it's hard to believe too, because she's your daughter. So,
well, her mother is striking. So
that's awesome. Is that all we got?
Jacksonville, same thing, man. We got to figure out what they want to do defensively, right? Do they think they have the front 4, maybe 5 to get after Josh, or do you think they have to bring pressure? So if they bring pressure, that's always a let's solve it issue. That's the risk, though. And then when they figured out how they were going to protect, know which guy they're going to let free, because if you're blocking 6 with 5 or 7 with 5, guys get free, then you have to be able to react, break off the routes, and that's what the Bills did. I'd like to see them learn it up and do it quicker.
Teams are not. I mean, you saw the Steelers bring pressure against Josh Allen in week 1, but there was some crazy stat that came out this week, and I can't remember what it was, but Josh Allen was like number 1. It's some stupid, ridiculous stat, and nobody's even close on pressure success rate. And you saw it on the Diggs touchdown. That ball came out so fast. Like, he had a dude in his face immediately, and the ball came out so fast to Diggs. He read the play, read the read, and so did Diggs, that Xavier Howard didn't even have a chance to react to it. So I can't remember who the color guy was. The color guy talked about Diggs having like this sudden burst, like to the inside, and it wasn't. He just kind of like meandered to the inside, but the ball came so fast, Howard was in his tracks. There was nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Josh throw to places, right? Not people.
Right.
I mean, that's where he's getting really good. Baldinger knocked one out today. I saw another guy analyze a play today, the lookoffs. You can do that with time. And I got to tell you, man, the pass protection, these guys were really, really good up front.
All the more reason to stop running the ball in obvious running situations.
When's a non-obvious running situation? I don't even know what that means anymore. I'm so confused.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. There are times when the Buffalo Bills in 2020 would run the ball and gain 9 yards, and you're like, that was a great call because it was completely unexpected versus doing what they do. Like they just seem to be trying. It was James Lofton. Who you were, James Lofton was before you, so you're probably not familiar with James.
I was on the team with him 1 year.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Sharon comes with a super chat. Thank you, Sharon. Great show. Thanks, John and Joe. Well, Sharon, thank you for tuning in and being a part of the show, and thank you for that super chat.
I think I followed Sharon on the Tweeter box today. Finally.
Yeah, she's a great follow.
She was in limbo. I wasn't sure. I saw some of that stuff.
Question of the hour from Jan Cornelius: what is Fina drinking?
Whatever's on sale. I like to try different IPAs.
I think she means right now.
This is the Q42BBQ.com approved IPA of the hour, brought to you by Sierra Nevada. Right, Birdie?
Right.
I don't even know what that means.
It's going to be a good game next week. Don't set your expectations too high. Everybody wants to battle. We have a target on our back.
Yep.
Because we have Bills Mafia too. Like, I think certain communities resent that. And I think players get a vibe of their communities now because of social media. And guess what? I mean, Bills Mafia is awesome.
Yeah.
And even at their worst moments, at least they're vocal. They're learning. Occasionally people say things that they want to take back. Isn't that right, Birdie?
Right.
Birdie says right. So, you know what? These guys have got to get on the edge of the knife, man.
Edge of the knife. That's the phrase of the night. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into the Off Tackle with John Fina show with your host, Joe Miller. That's me. The guy to my your right, my left is John Fina, the actual star of the show, who proved me wrong. And we had our moments tonight, John, and we had a lot of fun tonight, John. And just think, next week, you get to do this with Jay Spence the King.
I can't wait. First of all, to hug it out with you. But hopefully I got to get a hold of Jay Spence because I'm working up in his town all week this week. And thanks to Bills Mafia. I love the content. Even when I hate it, I love it. It's passion, and passion is good, right?
Passion is good.
Passion is good.
Off Tackle with John Fina on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Podcast Network, brought to you by Q42 BBQ. Go to Q42BBQ.com. Use the promo code Fina Show. to get 15% off of your order. Don't look at the word receive. I typoed that. It's my fault. I got to fix it. John is showing the Bills logo.
Go Bills.
For Joe, you're early. For Joe Miller, for John Fina, go Bills.
Go Bills. Victory Monday.
And Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday.